Good morning, North America. Good afternoon, Europe and beyond. Hope you're all doing well. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Alan.
Happy New Year, Marty, and happy tomorrow, Australia.
Yeah, great. I mean, our tomorrow man Simon's probably still recovering from our stream, but I know I am. But it's good to see everyone. And the impetus for this stream, the 2024 Heavy Metallurgy Metal Tag, friend of ours was saying that the Rock Scout wasn't probably doing a metal tag this year. So we accepted the challenge and decided to put out a set of new questions for 2024 for the vinyl community, the metal vinyl community, to chew on, see if it takes off and people like what we got going here. We're going to go through a list of 20 questions. The link to those questions is in the description. The link to the Rock Scout is in the description, and also the link to Metal Mickey, who also helped out with a couple of these questions, is and also suggested we do this is in the description. So check all the stuff out, and
yeah, all the information is there for folks to check out. And yeah, again, the metal tag's just a fun way to kind of start the year, give people something to think about while they've still got those last couple of days off before heading back to work or school. And it gives different channels and content creators something that can kind of link together, so that folks can be like, okay, yeah, I want to participate in that too. It's just kind of a fun community exercise. Not meant to be anything too gut wrenching or serious. Just a fun chance to take a look at your collection from a different angle, or 20 different angles, since there's typically 20 questions in it. And good morning to everybody in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see everybody. Hope folks had a good time last night ringing in the new year. Good to see that some of you are already awake and ready to begin that new year.
Yep. Pretty low key over here.
How do we want to do this? You want to read through the questions and we'll each give our answer?
Yeah, I can read the questions, and we'll start with you. First question or discussion topic. Some are questions, some are topics. Name a release you are eagerly anticipating in 2024.
All right. A fun question. Of course, we don't know everything that's coming out this year, but one that has already been announced, has a solid date that I'm definitely looking forward to, is the next Riot album. So this is the last Riot album. Now, again, they go by Riot V or Riot 5. I don't know if it's supposed to be a V or a 5 at this point, but regardless, Riot is coming out with Mean Streets in the middle of February. So we've got a little over a month to wait for this one. The band's done really well. Of course, Mark Reale is missed, but the post-Reale albums have been quite good. And I know fans are really, really excited to hear the next one. I glanced at the lineup. I believe it's the same lineup that was on this album. So it looks like there's some stability there. And yes, I'll definitely be checking out the new Riot album as soon as I get an opportunity to. So, Marty, what's one that you're looking forward to for 2024?
Well, it was just announced a new Crimson Glory record, which, kind of interested to hear how that's going to slide out now that their amazing singer passed away. But that and Century, Sentury, it's the remaining living members of Manila Road have a new band called Century that's coming out soon. I don't remember the date. I didn't really investigate, but looking forward to that. The previews I've heard sounded very promising. And of course, there's talk of Halloween working on new material. I highly doubt it's happening this year, but fingers crossed. That would be excellent for me.
If they're on the ball, it might be out by the end of the year. Yeah, there are a lot that are still rumored right now. There's a lot of talk that there may be a new Wasp album in 2024. There's been a lot of talk that John Oliva may have the next and supposedly final Savatage album out by the end of the year.
Wow.
Although he has qualified that. He's like, it may take, it may be 2025 before it hits shelves, but he has been working on what he wants to be, kind of a big send off and the last official Sava album. So that'll be cool if it comes out too.
Absolutely. Number 2. Chinese New Year 2024 is the year of the dragon. Show off an album either inspired by or containing dragons on the cover.
Yeah, very fun one. This was one of Metal Mickey's questions. I thought it was a great one, kind of tying into this particular year. I picked this one. It's a compilation album called Louder Than the Dragon Part 2. This was put out in 2005. It's basically a showcase for a lot of bands that were on the LMP label, which, this was run by a fellow who used to work with Halloween back in their early days on Noise. And it's a recognized, as having a pretty solid roster of European power metal bands, and that's exactly what's on this. You get stuff like bands like Black Majesty, Cryonic Temple, et cetera, et cetera. Galaglass is on here, was really good. So if you're into European power metal, this was a really nice series of compilations. I don't think they featured any bands that became like, massively Blind Guardian level huge, but if you're okay listening to kind of like, the next tier of bands down that have that kind of sound, yeah, these were a nice compilation set. I know they did at least the 2 volumes. I don't remember if they got a volume 3 out or not. But yeah, Louder Than the Dragon. The title says dragon. The cover says dragon. I think it covers the topic.
Right on.
Marty, what did you pick for a dragon-themed album?
Well, you really cannot talk about anything with a dragon on the cover without mentioning this band, Symphony of Enchanted Lands 2, The Dark Secret by Rhapsody, Italian symphonic power metal band. They're cornered the market in dragon artists, apparently, over the years, and even between this and Rhapsody of Fire. Super symphonic, very grandiose, epic symphonic power metal. Really not much to say about it other than this is good, and I own way too many Rhapsody and or Rhapsody of Fire albums. Some are great, some are not so great, but this is a good one. And there's a lot of good ones in their early catalog for sure. So yeah, dragons, we've got Symphony of Enchanted Lands 2, The Dark Secret. There it is.
Rhapsody is a very good pick for dragons. Absolutely.
Yep. All right, number 3. What was your favorite album that you acquired in 2023? We just did a very lengthy stream regarding this topic, but what do you got?
Yeah. One thing I realized with this question too, now we just said, picked up in 2023. We didn't say it has to be a new release from 2023.
Oh, see, I took it. I took it the literal way.
Okay, I took it the other way because the original version of this question we had was something more along the lines of, what was like your grail item that you found in 2023. So I was figuring, it could be anything then. So one of my favorite things that I tracked down in 2023 was this Manila Roads Crystal Logic, but this is the blue vinyl pressing on Black Dragon. You can see the blue vinyl there rather than having to pull it out. So yeah, this came out a year or so after the original version on the band's Roadster imprint. And a funny little bit of trivia, the recording on this sounds different than the Roadster pressing. It is not exactly the same. One of them is obviously a bit faster than the other. If you play them side by side, you can tell they're immediately different when they do that little spoken intro to Necropolis. One of them sounds like this, and one of them sounds more like this. There's a very noticeable difference in the speed and it's pretty consistent on other parts of the album too. So yeah, if you're a huge Crystal Logic fan like I am, you may want to have the Roadster and Black Dragon recordings available to compare side by side and see what the differences are. And cheers to Aaron, the metal theologian, who pointed that out a long time ago. I had heard some songs from this one once upon a time and thought, it's like, that sounds kind of weird, but it was like a bad MP3 or something, so I didn't think much about it. But yeah, Aaron confirmed that they really are different, and having them side by side, there is a distinct difference between the two. But yeah, so for the difference in the recording and the cool blue vinyl and finding this for a reasonable price, this is, one of my favorite pickups of 2023.
So I wonder which version the High Roller Records reissue is.
Good question. I don't know.
I own it. I guess I should look and see. I've got that in the Roadster version of that. So
yeah, well, if fun activity sometime, sit down and all you have to do is play like the first minute. You'll know immediately when they're doing their story introduction, leading you into Necropolis. It will sound either slow or it will sound very slow.
Is that the only thing that's sped up? Is that?
No, the whole song is dead. The whole Necropolis song is slightly different speed.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll be able to tell some differences as you go with it. But just the intro makes it very easy to tell which version it is. Anywho,
Right.
what have you got for your 2023 favorite, Marty?
Well, Sacred Outcry, Towers of Gold was my best of the year. And I took the topic literally.
And that's okay. I mean, that's one of the fun things with the metal tag is people can interpret the question slightly differently. They want to be open-ended.
Yeah. Well, this is Daniel Hyman from Lost Horizon fame singing for a Greek band. Very well composed power metal conceptual record. Starts off kind of energetic, ends kind of energetic. The middle part is a little slowish, kind of going along with the storyline, Lost at Sea type of thing. It's a grower. I mean, if you're looking for the bombastic power metal the whole way through, the driving double bass, it doesn't happen. There's a lot of dynamics on here. They just could have broke the dynamics up a little bit more effectively, but that's my main nitpicky complaint. But I ended up loving this record. Love it. A lot of sophistication and class in songwriting, and Daniel's lyrics or his vocal style is unparalleled. He's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when he goes up in those super higher registers and then harmonizes with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Goosebumps type of situation. Number 4, was there a title in 2023 that you were satisfied to purchase digitally, not on physical media, and why?
Oh, yes,
Alan.
the digital question. And yes, the Sacred Outcry, great album from this year, absolutely. One that I was okay just picking up a digital copy of, so from Bandcamp, was this one, the debut by Kerrigan from Germany called Blood Moon. This one I was okay getting just the digital of because, yeah, first off,
Oops.
I'd only heard a couple of clips from the band, so yeah, didn't know much about them. Second thing, high roller releases can be a little bit of a pain to get in the US, and they can be a little bit pricey. So I didn't feel like I needed to, overspend taking a chance on ordering a physical copy of this one. So it's like, yeah, I'll settle for the download on that one. Gotta say, yeah, the download was a little more expensive than I wanted to pay as well, but the clips I'd heard were good enough that I did want to give it a chance, and turned out to be a very, very solid album. Didn't quite make my top of the year list, but it's not far off the list either. It's a very solid, smooth, new wave of traditional heavy metal band. If folks liked the Sumerlands album from 2022, I would highly recommend the Kerrigan album from 2023. But yeah, if I find this, for a decent price, I'd pick it up. I'm not paying the $18 for a CD plus shipping kind of price to pick up most high roller releases these days. So, Marty, what's something that you got digital only this year?
Well, out of here. Sorry, I was getting it ready. I didn't know I would post it right away. What is the name of the band? Nansarunau? Ruins of the Moonlight Temple. This is harsh, scathing black metal. I cannot remember where they're from. Vinyl was put out by Go to War Rex. Cassette tape by Ancient Horror Records. It seems like these guys are Asian. I don't Indonesia. Yep.
Yep.
Super scathing black metal, kind of done the right way. It's just one of those things where Ben was into it, kind of turned me on to it. I found myself spinning it a little bit on the Bandcamp app, and then said, screw it, I'll get it for cheap. And I struggle with Bandcamp. I love it for the fact that I like buying stuff on it, like actual physical copies, because it feels like you're supporting the artist directly. But man, I rarely circle back to digital. Once it's on my computer, it sits there. I haven't found a practical use for digital in my my daily musical consumption. But yeah, that was one of them. What was the name of it again? Nansarunal. Nansarunal.
Nailed it. I think Simon over at Tix talked about that, right?
Oh yeah,
I think so. I could be getting it mixed up with something else.
All right. Show an album that musically doesn't match the cover art.
Okay, yeah, that's a fun question. I thought I went with this one. Not fragile. Who dares wins.
Oh, that's so bad.
Now, to be fair, I don't know if any musical style matches this cover art, except maybe like the theme song to Sesame Street or something. This album is brought to you by the letters N and F.
Or
I have
R and
no idea.
F. I mean, that's could be open
Yeah,
for interpretation there. Yeah.
yeah. It doesn't even look like it's really the N. It's supposed to be the NF for not fragile, but it doesn't even. They didn't even do that part very well. So yeah, and I mean, the logo's in pink. The title is tiny way down here under the giant NRF kind of logo. So you look at this and you don't have a clue what it's going to sound like. You don't expect it to sound like anything good. This, when you put it, as soon as you drop the needle, it is skull crushingly heavy German speed metal. It is brilliant. It is an absolute scorcher. And it looks like this, which you would never guess. The only reason I ever bought this was I had read a review, like a retro review of it back in an old issue of Sentinel Steel, where they talked it up to a huge extent. It's like, okay, this is a band I've got to check out. And so when I saw this on a mail order, I did it. I got to open the box and I was just looking at the thing, just like, oh my God, what the heck have I bought? But yeah, the music is just absolutely fantastic. If you like super fast German speed, but still with a really heavy backbone to it, you cannot go wrong with this release. As bad as it looks, is absolutely worth it.
Right on.
What did you pick for this one, Marty?
I have several. We'll just run through them kind of quick. I always thought that this was a weak sauce cover for a pretty heavy record. Solar Lovers by Celestial Season. These guys are very heavy, melodically flowing, a little bit emotional doom. And this one, I mean, this is it almost looks like a spoof of a Beatles, something, the white background and the bold colored in the center cover. It's a cool image, a heart made out of vegetables, but yeah, Carcass Torn Arteries never really struck me as a great cover to begin with, and it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't really emulate what's hidden within.
And if you're eating that many vegetables, shouldn't your arteries actually be in good shape instead
You
of
would
being
think
torn
so.
up?
Yeah.
It looks more like a healthy heart diet or something.
Yeah, and one that Alan shown recently, I don't remember if it was on a stream or on his channel, but Secrets in a Weird World by Rage.
Good choice. Good choice.
This is just kind of one of those things where the band got shafted out of the cover art, which was actually pretty cool cover art. They reissued it on Peavy's label with the actual artwork, but yeah, here you go. Here's a promo picture. The dudes looking all tough, rough and tumble with their shades on, but and for those who don't know, German heavy metal, I don't want to call it power metal. These guys are kind of, they can be lumped in, but kind
of traditional metal, leaning into
metal.
Power metal a little bit. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think Mr. Raccoon here does have the correct answer to this question, though.
That is the perfect, man. That is absolutely perfect. Next one, number 6. Who is a metal artist that you own the most items by?
Right, and we were thinking in this case not just albums by, but shirts, posters, flags, the whole 9 yards, the most paraphernalia by. I didn't stop and count, so I might be wrong on this. If I included digital bootlegs, it would probably be Iron Maiden, because I have a ridiculous number of Iron Maiden shows on my hard drive. But as far as physical items, I'm fairly certain it's probably Armored Angel. Now, this is kind of weird because their discography is incredibly small. It's a handful of demos, EPs, and an album. But I have all of them on CD and tape and vinyl. Some of them I have on 2 different versions of vinyl. I've got 2 flags, 2 shirts, at least 10 patches, a VHS tape, several magazines I've bought simply because it had an Armored Angel interview in it. So yeah, our Armored Angel takes up a lot of space around here. I've got a huge poster over my desk above me. So if it's not Armored Angel for total amount of random items, they're definitely close enough that I feel okay using them here. Marty, what have you got the most? Who takes up the most space in the Worm Mansion?
I got 4 here, so I'm gonna run through them quick. Merciful Fate, I own a ton of Merciful Fate, and King Diamond can be lumped in with this. Between Merciful Fate and King Diamond, all the
Mhm.
studio albums, a bunch of bootleg stuff, random live EPs, singles, you name it. Merciful Fate's a big one. Any metalhead worth their grain of salt isn't really their collection is probably bloated with a lot of Maiden stuff. Of course, Halloween. I own a ton of that stuff too, between CD, tape, and vinyl. And of course, Darkthrone. Own all their studio records, bootlegs, vinyl. It's a lot. So those are 4 right off the top of my head.
Let's see. Oh, hey, Matt. Glad you could make the live stream for at least a little while. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, right on, Matt. Good to see you. 7, show an album that you blind bought in 2023.
Yep, fun question. This one I literally blind bought. It was in the used bin. I had never seen it, never heard of the band, and I didn't even have my phone with me. My wife and little boy were in the car, and I left the phone so he could catch Pokemon while Daddy went in the record store for just 5 minutes, plus or minus 20. But it's looked interesting. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I mainly bought it because it was on Northern Silence Productions, and I tend to like the stuff that comes out. I'm not even sure how to pronounce the band name, but it's this thing, Remete? Remete? It's Remete, I think. The font's even kind of weird. It's called Into Endless Night. Once I got... hi, Mel. It wasn't that long. But yeah, once I got got it home, played it, I could look it up. It's by the same person who does Woods of Desolation and Forest Mysticism. So it's an Australian black metal solo project. The artist goes by the name just the letter D. Fair enough. And it's kind of similar to his other projects, where it's that kind of atmospheric black metal, leaning a little bit into kind of, the, more uplifting vibes that you might get, from, a little bit of black gaze or something like that. Only had a chance to spin it once so far, but it sounded pretty good. So I think this blind buy worked out just fine. I like the stuff from his other projects. It's not, he's not my favorite artist, but generally when I hear his stuff, it gets a thumbs up. So Remete's Into Endless Nights. Had to completely blind buy this based just on the fact that it was on Northern Silence.
Well, now I'm thinking about it, this pick is kind of lame because this is a complete blind buy. I blind buy all this stuff just because, but I know the band, so it's kind of cheating. But the new Tolka album, Etav Avstand, I don't know. Yep, it sounds like Tolka. I couldn't think of anything that I blind buy. I typically do blind buy a lot of music. This year, doing the channel stuff, I heard a lot of stuff in promo. So anything I normally would have blind bought, I had a sneak peek of, but I didn't hear a note off of this before buying it. So I guess it constitutes as fair game for the topic, but I kind of knew what I was getting. So that's kind of a lame pick on my end. But next, show a title that you own on more than one format.
All right. So, lots of different ways we could go with this. The one I picked, because it's not one we discuss all that often, is the Devil's Blood, Time of No Time Evermore. Yeah, this is one of the earlier bands that kind of helped kickstart the 70s occult rock retro vibe that's become quite popular in recent decades. Devil's Blood were there. If they weren't the first, they were pretty early on that train, and they did it incredibly well. They did. They had a 7-inch, 2 albums, and an EP. Most of them I have on more than one format. I just grabbed the CD for this, but I also have this on a really nice, pretty sure it's a 2 LP set that came out with it. Band fell apart when recording their 3rd album. Kind of a shame. Always liked their particular take on this style. But so I decided we'd go with the Devil's Blood for something that I definitely have on more than one format.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. For me, okay, let's go with this one. My original Nuclear Assault Game Over Combat cassette tape.
Nice.
Game Over, The Plague, split CD. Actually, there's a few tracks removed from Game Over. And I have two versions of the vinyl. One is a picture disc and one is a regular, just a regular pressing, black vinyl. So
Very nice.
there are multiple instances of this in my collection. And it used to be worse when I was saving cassettes, because I got to a point where I would buy the CD and then give my cassette away to somebody, to a lot of titles, not all titles, but a lot of titles. So I used to have many, Fate's Warning, Awaken the Guardian was another one. Trouble, Run to the Light. I mean, do we need it all on 3? No, we don't. So yeah. And let's get to the next one.
Cheers, Tony. Glad you're enjoying the tag. And
hey, Tony.
Yeah, as we said before, we were told the Rock Scout wasn't going to do it this year, and so some folks were asking us if we'd do it instead. And we figured, yeah, sure. Folks have fun with it. Be glad to help out.
Yep. Bookworm, show off a release conceptually inspired by literature.
Okay, so yep, lots of different ones we could pick for this. I picked one that's a little controversial. Some folks like this, some folks don't, but I always thought it was a very cool album. I went with Over, themes from William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. This is their fifth album, somewhere in there.
Yep.
And yeah, obviously took the band in a very different direction from what everybody was used to, which at the time threw people for a loop. In the 2 decades that have elapsed since then, we now understand that Over is pretty much always going to throw you for a loop when they release most things. But yeah, at the time, I mean, they had been very much in the black metal vein, and then this came out, and yeah, it was a real head scratcher for some folks. It took me a couple of listens to get into it, but I really liked what they did with it. I understand why some folks don't. It is certainly not for everybody. I don't go back and play this as much as I used to, but yeah, when this came out, this was in regular rotation for me for a long time. So yep, even pulled the book off the shelf just to go with it. So William Blake, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, Over. That's my pick for the literature question.
I went Mr. Obvious on this one and went with Summoning, Minas Morgul, obviously a band that has modeled its entire existence after the Lord of the Rings trilogy or the Middle Earth tales from J.R.R. Tolkien. Everyone I think here is familiar with this band. They do an exceptional job emulating the vibe of the books. Especially, I mean, they even did a song on a later album in the Orc language, which I think is pretty freaking, nerdy to the 10th power. But I mean, it's like the 20-sided dice of music, right? Of black metal, Tolkien worship music. Love it. Summoning, absolute classic. Name a band that you would travel a considerable distance to see live in 2024.
All right. Now, this is purely hypothetical for me because I never travel much of anywhere for shows. Part of it being there's never hardly any shows in this entire region of the country. And yeah, I'm just not hopping on airplanes to watch concerts. But if I was going to this year, there's no doubt it would be to go see curated. The band has announced that 2024 is going to be their last year of touring. Now, they have not said they're going to stop recording stuff, but they are saying that this is going to be their last year on the road. Yeah, and fair enough. That this band is technically 51, 52 years old at this point. They're allowed to get off the road if they want to. Absolutely. So yeah, for fans, if you want a chance to see them, you've got about 12 months to make it happen. And if I was going to plan a big trip and travel a long way to see somebody, this would be easily at the top of my list.
Well, now that my kid is getting heavily into this stuff as well, and they've been announcing some shows around the world, it would be fun to hop in a car or plane and go see Gamma Ray. I kind of figured that this band would be retired now that the successful reunion of Kai and Michael to Halloween. But yep, Kai is going out and playing some more shows, and really, my kid is heavily into this band at this point, and I've been listening to a lot of these records, and it is astounding the amount of amazing music Kai Hansen has produced. I mean,
Yep.
just about all of these Gamma Ray records are either really good to fantastic. So
Yep.
even the early stuff that I was always like, oh, I don't like it without Kai on vocals, and some of it's goofy, but it's still good. It's still good. And
Mhm.
the fact that I don't know if it's a victory lap or what they're doing with Gamma Ray, but they're hitting some of the festivals. It'd be kind of fun to go see them before that's done. Who knows if that's going to happen again or what? No idea. Don't know
Yeah.
what's in the cards.
One gets the sense that there's just not going to be any new gamma ray material from this point forward, which is sad.
Yeah, but it
I
might.
don't know that for sure. I'm just saying
Yeah,
we kind of get that sense.
because I've heard interviews where he said no, it's no, and then I've heard others where he says yes. So I it's probably whatever he's feeling at the time.
Yeah.
But
At this point, I think it's just more what can he work into his schedule, and how long do they want to keep recording stuff before retiring out?
Yep. Okay, number 11, Soured Grapes. Show a 2023 release that you enthusiastically purchased, but eventually lost interest in.
Yeah. A fair question. Happens to us all. There's usually a few things each year that it occurs with. One for me was this one, Blutos Nord's Disharmonium 2. I think there's more words. We're just going to go with Disharmonium 2. Was really looking forward to this one. I've liked their past two albums quite a bit. This is a band I'm still relatively new to. I don't know big chunks of their discography yet. I'm kind of very, very slowly piecing it together. So since I liked the last two, thought, great, this one, picked it up, ordered it as soon as I could, played it a couple of times, and quickly realized this sounds almost exactly like Disharmonium 1. I don't need to hear Disharmonium 1. I already been listening to that for a couple of years. So yeah, this one, Sour Grapes would be the right phrase here. It's not that it's bad. For me, it just hit a little too close to the mark that they'd already achieved. And maybe that's kind of the point. I know this artist tends to kind of group albums together and parts 1 and 2 for different things. So maybe it's supposed to sound a lot like Disharmonium 1. It certainly does. For me, it sounded too much like it. So I kind of put this aside pretty quickly. I'll give it another chance. Maybe I'll pick up on more subtle differences between the two over time. But yeah, this one definitely got the Sour Grapes Award for 2023. I know a lot of people enjoyed the album, and that's cool. But I was hoping for something that wasn't a carbon copy of the last album. And on first impression, that's all it was.
All right. For me, Sour Grapes, the new Immortal. I bought this on vinyl because I've got most of their others on vinyl, so you can't, break out of that system because if you're collector scum, that's just the way it goes. Northern Chaos Gods was an awesome return to form with Demon Az at the helm. Love that record. War Against All, it's good. It is a good record. It's just a little so-so, and Demon Az is singing, trying to sound like a bot, and it sounds a little too digital in the production, a little too crisp and clean. Icewind Dale from Enslaved recorded this. He also played bass on this, I believe, but it's a little too sterile. Some of the songs are pretty good. It's all pretty solid. It's very Immortal by numbers, and
Yeah.
I have not. After the newness of that wore off, it lost its new car smell. I kind of lost interest. It's probably gonna get slid into the collection and forgot about for a while.
Yeah, that's a very fair description of it. You did at least get that for a really, really good price.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Got it on Amazon cheap. I'm surprised.
Yep.
The Golden Child. Name an artist that you feel can do no wrong. Alan.
Who could I possibly pick for this that I boy out about? Seems like about every third week. For me, it's Atlantean Codex, no question. The band's now coming up on 20 years of existence, and I don't think they've even made a bad song yet, much less a bad album or EP or anything. This band has killed it for 2 decades. They are my favorite band of the 21st century. They just work for me on every level. So yeah, this one was pretty easy. Atlantean Codex so far had the perfect track record. Marty, who's your golden child?
they've had an album and a half bump in the road early on, but I love Halloween. I love Halloween. Even these later Darius albums, they're 99.9% great records, and even the so-so songs are still good songs. I love them. They've been on they got a formula, but it's an awesome formula, a very colorful formula, and they're still rolling strong. And Halloween, one of my favorite bands, absolutely hands down.
Fair. Yeah. Mr. Raccoon, other folks speak very highly of Moon Sorrow. I've never checked that band out,
They're
but
good.
I've noticed that folks that like them tend to really like them. So I should check them out sometime.
All right. Number 13, Overstayed Welcome. Name a band that you wish would have quit when they were ahead.
Yeah. Kind of a tough one because it's a band that, was great once and then you feel kind of lost the muse. I had to think this one over for a few minutes, but then the answer became pretty obvious from my perspective. It's definitely Man of War. Yeah. Man of War had, a string of 7 or so albums in a row at the start of their career, which are all, again, anywhere from good to amazing. And over the past couple of decades, I mean, they've barely put anything out. A lot of what they put out is just like re-recorded things. And I get sometimes they're, the bands are trying to get rights back to stuff. But for long-term fans, that's not really interesting. At least one of the albums they've put out in the 21st century was one of the worst piles of crap I've ever heard in my life. And the band's also in the recent years just developed a bad reputation for gouging their ticket prices for no particular reason. I mean, come on, guys, you're not Taylor Swift. They also have a reputation for phoning it in at smaller shows. So it's like, yeah, I really want to pay $70 to go see you in, some dive bar when you're barely going to put any effort into it. It's just a real shame because, I mean, they were, the standard for big, epic, powerful metal for a long time. And I just feel like they haven't done anything to uphold that legacy in ages. So it's a shame. They're actually, and while it sounds like I'm pissing all over them, when we did our 10 favorite bands of all time, this was number 10 on my list. That they made my top 10 bands of all list on the strength of that early run of albums. But really, anything after Warriors of the World, for me, and a lot of people don't even like Warriors of the World. I do. You take that away, and you have to go back into the early 90s before they did something that was worthwhile. So Man of War's, my band that really wish if they'd hung it up after the Triumph of Steel, you'd have an almost impeccable catalog that could not be assailed. Marty, who has fallen from grace in the eyes of the world?
These guys falling hard.
I thought that might be it.
Yeah, this band hasn't been good for a long time, and it bums me out. Even though I want to like it, they're as soon as they kind of changed into a crust punk rock and roll type of band. Oh, there'd be a handful of songs on each record that are good, but I buy the new records. I listen to them once or twice, and I don't ever listen to them again. I keep buying. I tell every single new record, I say, that's it. I am effing done with this band. I am done. Well, the collector scum. Well, why wouldn't I buy this one? I got all the rest of them. Well, maybe this one will be different.
Maybe this is the time they turn it around.
It is. This one was really bad, and the fact that
springs eternal.
Yeah, the fact that they're never going back to black metal, which is fine. Just be good, just do something more than 2 riffs per song. I mean, some of their iconic, the black metal trinity, a lot of songs were built on 2-3 riffs, but there was just an intensity to it, and the way that they put those together was really cool. But this here, just a handful of good riffs that just meander. The vocals are uninspired and lame. These guys have been snoozeville for a decade or more. So yeah, it's a bummer to say because I love classic Dark Throne, but
yeah. And then there's of course that Frozen Disney artwork.
Ugh.
Now they blow. Every album seems to suck. Yeah. I'll stop there.
That was good.
If you want the rest of that, you got to pay for
it. Show a band / release that you bought in 2023 as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel.
Okay, I cheated a little bit on this because I found out about this by watching the Heavy Metallurgy Album Club, but I am not a participant in that, so I figured it was fair. Ben recommended this for one of the episodes that the Brain Smasher was on. Listened to the album. I thought it was really, really cool. I had never heard of the band or the album before, but I ended up ordering it after spinning it for several days that week. It was Saturnus, Paradise Belongs to You.
It's a good record.
Really good, cool record. Kind of, fits into that, late 90s melodic, doom death kind of vibe that was popular at the time. But, this one very much has its own personality as well. This one, I think, is kind of famous for all the little interludes between songs where you get like, bird chirping and stuff, which drives some people nuts, but I actually think it works in the context of the album incredibly well. This was also a little bit of a pain to track down. Again, I knew nothing about it, so I'm like, it's probably like what, $3 on Discogs? No, it's not. But it was good enough that I did want to have a physical copy of it. So yeah, cheers to Ben for recommending this for the album club. It was a good discussion about the album, and an album I thought was very, very cool.
All right. I have a couple here. This one I heard about from Melanie's channel, and then she ended up reviewing it, so I got to partake in the promo of it. So yeah, this is one I had to buy. Showed this the other day too. It made my best of the year list. Really proggy death metal with Damon Good from Australia on bass, fretless bass. Absolutely great tone, interesting songwriting. A little proggy in spots, but not enough to turn me off. So yeah, Melanie loves death metal and heavy metallurgy. This one, Ruin. I cannot remember the damn channel, but I was flipping through and I saw some guy was interviewing Blasphemer, and he mentioned the new album, the new band, and I'm like, huh? And instantly went and previewed it and went, oh, yep, that's an essential listen for me. So I wish I could remember the channel, but it was a pretty big interview site that does a lot of underground black metal stuff. So yep, this Ruin, Black Royal Spiritism. I love this record. The riffing on this is glorious. So good. Interesting. But yeah, and I don't hate to admit it. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of people's channels. It is kind of my source for finding out about new stuff. So yep. Next one. Show us an otherwise good album that ends up suffering from being too long.
Albums can't be too long. That's never happened.
Did I skip something?
Nope. You're right on track as far as I know.
Okay. So yeah, what was it? Show us an otherwise good album that ends up suffering from being too long.
Albums aren't too long. I don't mind if an album goes on for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, that I've never complained about that. Lots of candidates for this, but I thought this one kind of fits the bill. Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Yeah.
This was the first Metallica album I had picked up in a long time, just after hearing multiple. When it came out, I had no interest in it. But, after hearing, several different songs get played, on a Sirius radio, it's like, actually, this is coming together pretty well. I'm not going to remember everyone that they were playing, but I know they were playing, Atlas Rise. I thought was pretty good. Hardwired was good. Now That We're Dead was good. I'm like, there's enough good songs. I should probably go pick this up. And I did. And, of course, this one, is famously, multiple discs and all of that. And I do feel that if they had carved this in half, they would have had a really, really great album. Especially like disc one, I like pretty much everything on. But yeah, as you work your way through disc two, it's like, more and more of these songs are pretty forgettable. There's a couple that are still all right. So yeah, if they had pared this down to sort of a quote unquote normal length album, I think it would have been a great sort of, comeback album in terms of, my perspective. Again, I have not been a big fan of Metallica since, they became a lot more, commercial friendly. That's just me. Other folks like them, and that's fine. But yeah, there is a lot of good stuff on here, but the album is way too padded out with too many mediocre songs. So it's close. I still, it was good enough. I picked it up, and I didn't mind picking it up. But it would have been a lot better if they had trimmed the fat.
Album that suffers from being too long. Man, I wanted to love this album a lot more, and it is a good record, but Blood on Blood by Running Wild. I think the last couple, since they've come back, There's a lot of good ideas, but they just go. I mean, look at the track listing. The last
Yep.
song is over 10 minutes long, and 3, 4, 5. I mean, 6 minutes. There's a couple 6 minute long songs on here. There's a lot of material on here, and it's pretty solid. But if he would have trimmed the fat, I think it would have been a lot more. And also, get a real drummer, Rolf. Come on, it's time. It's time. Get a real drummer. Record it. I know the simplicity of hitting play, and you have perfect control over synthetic drums, but your music is so good. Don't cheapen it. I mean, you play live, get your live drummer to play these things. But anyway, yep, I love me some Running Wild. I know Alan does too, another favorite of his as well. And this is a lot of Signs of Life. It gets a little too long. The last record
That's
was
fair.
really good too, but they're long.
Yep. Yeah.
Trim
That's
the
fair.
fat.
Yeah. And Rolf has gotten a little bit into that habit of always making the last song the big, long, epic song.
Yep.
A couple of them have worked, but very often they don't quite come together. So, no, a fair criticism.
All right. Show your favorite band shirt for number 16.
All right. Had to go digging through the closet to see what it'd be. I just wore it. We'll do this. This is a very obscure new wave of British heavy metal band called Mars, spelled M-A-R-Z. They made one single, so not much recorded stuff, but this was what was on the picture sleeve of the single, and I absolutely love that little guitar playing alien mascot. I've always thought that was just one of the coolest sleeve images for a band named Mars, and you got the little green guy. He's just jamming on that guitar. He's totally shredding. Love it to death. Years ago, somebody over on the old Lapland Metal Forum put together some shirts of old obscure singles like this, stuff that was never really going to get licensed anywhere. And yeah, so he did a Mars shirt. And I was like, you shut up and you take my money right now. And I love the shirt. I wear it very little because I do not ever want to accidentally wear it out or get it damaged or stained or anything, because I will never again get a Mars shirt. So yeah, one of my favorites for sure. Always a fun one to break out. Are you wearing yours, Marty, or are you just going to hold one up?
No. Mathery Nordland.
That's a nice shirt.
Yep, it's a cool shirt. I also have another favorite of mine, which I couldn't find in the closet. My closet is overstuffed with metal shirts. It's ridiculous. But another Bathory, Blood on Ice, which is perfect. They're two of my favorites. Some of my favorite albums, some of my favorite shirt designs as well. And okay, number 17, share a band that has been around for at least 24 years that you think is still going strong / creatively relevant. Alan.
Yeah, this was a fun one to kind of tie in the 2024 part, because yeah, you're basically looking at it has to be a band that started in the 90s is another way to consider it, and or 90s or before. Not a lot of bands really make this list for me. Some bands are still doing okay, but they're not really breaking the mold or anything. And of course, a lot of bands have very much tailed off or just gone extinct. But one band that is still around and kicking, and I still look forward to each album they put out, not a lot of bands have really followed their style per se, is Summoning. I just pulled one of the more recent ones with Doom We Come. Almost every album this band has put out has, again, been anywhere from good to just, awesome. And, you kind of know what you're getting with them at this point. It's not that they're reinventing the wheel every time, but they are so good, like you described them earlier, Marty. They're so good at doing that whole world building aspect through their music, and it fits their subject matter so incredibly well that, I'm just always impressed, at how well their stuff comes together. They've been doing it for a long time, and we've started to see a few other bands work in this same vein. Caladan Brood, of course, did, but they only did the one album. There's never been a follow-up to that. This year, Fathom Age out of Australia did something that's kind of in this ballpark, but it's a sound that a lot of people like, but not a lot have dared to try to duplicate, which I think it was one reason I picked them for this. They haven't spawned 1,000 clones that are all just kind of samey. They still, in a way, kind of have this corner of the universe to themselves, and they make really good use of it. So summoning still doing well. Maybe we'll get some new summoning material in 2024. Don't know.
All right. This is kind of an obvious one for me, and I'm kind of amazed that this band is faring far better than Iron Maiden. Judas Priest, Firepower. They've been going at it forever, for as long as I've been alive, longer. And this is a good album. And from
Yep.
what I've heard of the new, wow, the new one sounds just as good, if not maybe a bit better. Guys in their 70s still kicking ass. I mean, I look at my dad. He can hardly, he's my dad, but he, I can imagine him up there rocking, doing what these guys do every night. It's amazing. So yeah, Judas Priest, this was kind of an obvious grab for me. Really surprised the quality that this band still clings to. I don't know if it's because of the producer, Andy Sneap, that has something to do with it. No idea. But either way, Judas Priest are still kicking ass.
Yeah, they've had their ups and downs over the years, but they are very much trying to go out on a high note, which, and Rob has said in interviews, that's kind of the point. He wants to make sure that, if these are their last couple of albums, whatever, he wants them to be really good, solid Judas Priest albums. He doesn't want to go out with a whimper. And that band, at this point, it's not even a matter of, oh, we decided to retire. It's more a matter of, oh, you wake up one morning and the headline is that Rob Halford, has passed away, and nobody's necessarily surprised because, they are up there in years.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is trying very hard. And I think a lot of bands are like that. I mentioned earlier, John Oliva is trying very hard. He's like, I really want this last Sabotage album to be a really good one for the fans. He's like, I know some folks really didn't get into the last one 20 years ago, and I get that. But he really does want the band's legacy to go out on that high note. And I think that, that's admirable. I hope it works out for him.
Yep. Number 18, share your favorite band mascot.
Band mascot. There can be only one. I mean, there's lots of great mascots, but there is one clear, correct answer to this, and anybody who picks otherwise is wrong. Because that seal is the real deal. Absolutely. Tior the Mighty for Riot. One of the weirdest mascots. It never made a ton of sense, but it doesn't matter. How can you possibly be mad at a face like that? I mean, just look into those soulless black pools. This guy is metal to the core. He's been on most Riot album covers, not all of them, but he's been adorning record sleeves for them since the late 1970s. And I'll bet good money he is on the cover of their upcoming album in February. Gotta love that seal.
Mel is in it because it's so fluffy.
Exactly.
That's what I want my mascot. Fluffy, approachable. All right. Mascot. I went with the maybe least obvious. I have a couple here. Oops, let me flip this around.
Oh, yep. Switchers. There you go.
Korgol the Exterminator. You can't deny away from Voivod's artistic prowess and inventiveness. Great mascot. And I also like the demon guy here that was adorning the many Creator records over the years.
Oh yeah.
Another favorite. Jurgen told us the name of him. He has a name, but I don't remember the name. But
I do not either. I lose one true metal street cred point.
Yep, me too. So yep, that's it. Next one, number 19, grab bag. Share a random pull from your collection. No peeking. Alan.
Yep. Okay, so I've got my whole collection on an Excel spreadsheet. So I just entered a formula to pick a random number and went to that row on the spreadsheet. The number that came up was 4,319. And on the spreadsheet, that is Therian's Theli.
Well, that is a shitty record.
Oh, I like this record. I like this record a lot.
Oh, look at that cover. It's so bad.
The cover is shitty. Now I'll give you that. Yes, this is cutting edge Atari level graphics from 1990. What was this? 97 ish. No, the cover's horrible, but I always thought this was a very cool album. Yeah, obviously a transition from the band's earlier stuff, they and in interviews, they admit they went way out on a limb with this album. They had no idea if people were going to dig it or absolutely just roast them alive. It obviously worked out well for them. It was well received, and kind of led them further and further down that very kind of classical symphonic direction ever since. I have not kept up with the band through all those albums. I thought they started sounding pretty samey pretty fast, but I really liked this one. I liked the follow-up to this one, which was Voven. But yeah, after that, it's just kind of like, well, yeah, okay, great. You got another orchestra and another choir, whatever. But for this one, no, I thought it was a pretty cool and unique type of album. So that's what came up with the random number generator, number 4,319 on the spreadsheet as of last night. Marty, what random thing did you pick?
I closed my eyes, spun around twice, and reached in and grabbed, and this unfortunate album came up.
Sad trombone music.
Yeah, I hear black. This is a really bad Overkill. Typically have had a pretty solid run, if not a bit tired derivative in their middle period. This was this came right after Horror Scope, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Which is an amazing record.
That made the fall from grace all that much harder.
Yep, totally terrible. I hear elements of Alice in Chains on here, which, man, that's just not Overkill to me. And
no,
I have this record for the main reason that I have to have them all because it's Overkill. But
yeah,
the album, the logo isn't even green. That should have said something right then and there. But
I liked the color scheme when I first saw it. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. They changed the color scheme, but the orange, and black and gray actually I thought looked pretty good together. But few albums have ever disappointed me as much as that album. Because that came out spring of '93. That was, everybody knew by spring of '93 that heavy metal in the US was having problems. There were issues. You were getting a lot of bands either, hanging it up or drastically changing their sound to keep up with grunge and such. And I really remember thinking like, oh, new Overkill. Perfect. That is just what we kind of need to sort of rinse the taste of all this other weird stuff coming out of my mouth. So hard. Have never ever forgiven that album for just what a disappointment it was.
Few people are giving it some love in the chat. Hey, to each their own, but not for me. Not for me.
If folks like it, that is absolutely cool. Marty and I will be showing up unannounced at your house to perform an intervention sometime in 2024.
Yes. Make sure you have White Claws chilled in the fridge.
Yep.
Number 20, show an album from a metal band that others may not consider metal.
Yeah, so this question was inspired by, a lot of conversations this year about, certain things like, does this count as metal? Is this band maybe a little too far removed from, whatever that core metal sound is to still be part of the heavy metal scene? You and Kellen have, famously talked about this quite a bit. But, it's a fair question and a fun discussion. The one I picked for our last question, Danzig 4, very dark cover. There we go a little bit. And really I could have picked any of the early Danzig albums because, they're very popular with heavy metal fans. They kind of have, that heavy metal, cred. But when you stop and think about it, it's like, is Danzig really a metal band? I don't know. Misfits were obviously a hardcore punk band. Just, but even they were, they had, this crazy horror sci-fi, shock, visual going on. And then Samhain was, heavy and creepy, but, it had like more of these, gothic overtones and stuff. The Danzig project stripped a lot of that away, made it more straightforward. It became, of course, more popular, more accessible. It's heavy. But do we really consider it to be heavy metal, or is it just one of those heavy bands that's maybe just a little bit outside of metal? I've never really known, what to classify the Danzig albums as. Doesn't matter, especially through the first 4, they're great albums to different degrees. But yeah, I mean, if someone, looked at this and be like, oh, Danzig, that's not really a metal band. I can't argue against them really hard because I can't tell you what makes Danzig metal as opposed to not metal. So that's what I went with for our metal thing that actually may not quite be metal. Danzig 4.
All right. For me, I don't really think people even really consider this band at all, this one-off project. And I think a lot of people don't even really consider it metal, but it is Nephilim, the Zune album.
I almost picked that one. Yep. Good
Yep,
choice.
this is after Carl McCoy, after Fields of the Nephilim, the first iteration of it broke up. Carl started Nephilim, and this is a decidedly more metal take on the Fields of the Nephilim aesthetic. Added with a little teeny tinge of industrial, but there's a lot of heavy crunching on this record with Carl alternating between a harsher gravel in his voice to, the dreamy clean tones that he typically dwells within. But this album is very good. It's a very good record. I consider it a metalish record. In fact, this is a Beggar's Banquet edition, I believe, but the US edition was put out on Metal Blade.
Yep.
So that's usually another indication that it's a metal band that a lot of people don't consider as metal. After this, Fields of the Nephilim reformed with Carl and Tony Petit, or Petit, however you say his name, the bass player. They're trying to get the whole band back together, but it was just those two mainly. And from there, that kind of fell apart too, and Carl just took the reins. And it's still, he's not a very prolific writer. But anyway, yeah, I consider this a metal record. A lot of people probably wouldn't, but Nephilim, Zune, I cannot tell you what year it came out. I can't read the...
It's around 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there. But yeah, excellent choice for that one.
Yeah, so that's it. That's our metal tag, our contribution. The questions or the topics, all 20 of them are in the description. Go forth and content.
Yes, content creators. The list of 20 questions is right down there. Take them, answer them. As you saw, even Marty and I, we made the list and we have slightly different interpretations on some questions. If you interpret some of them slightly different, that's okay too. We wanted it to be, a flexible, open list that people could just have fun with, kind of a fun and easy way to, generate some content here to help get your channels off to a great start in 2024. Thanks to everybody for checking this out, participating, and thanks to everybody in the chat. We've had 60 folks up bright and early this morning. I don't know, 11 o'clock, I can't call it bright and early, but
I can.
Marty can.
Yeah.
He and I work on slightly different clocks.
Yeah, but, my clock is backwards, unfortunately.
Yes. We normally are not online at this time of day, so it's really cool that so many of you have jumped on. We've gotten to chat with a few folks that we normally don't see on our Wednesday and Friday night shows. So cheers to all of you. Thanks for participating. Sorry, I haven't been putting more in the chat this morning. I am a little slow after staying up to midnight to ring in the new year last night. But I hope everybody has enjoyed this and hope folks will enjoy, definitely, as other channels put up their Metal Tag 2024 videos, go check them out, leave them a like, leave them a comment, let them know that you appreciate, and enjoy what they're doing. It means a lot to channels to get feedback from people so that they know folks are watching and paying attention.
Yeah. And thanks to the Rock Scout for, getting this ball rolling. It's kind of become a yearly tradition that I think a lot of channel creators look forward to. And also thanks to Mike from Metal Mickey's channel to bring it to our attention that Scott wasn't maybe doing it this year. So it was fun. It was fun to do. And this might be the first time I've ever done this. I've done it once before, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
But hey, just want to say Happy New Year. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for making 2023 a very successful year for Heavy Metallurgy. We're getting dangerously close to the 5,000 mark. We appreciate that, and we appreciate all you. A lot of awesome people in the chat we've met over the years doing this, and it's growing. Thumbs up to that. New Year's resolution. I'm going to try to get and answer more questions in the comments. I've been so damn busy. I have had zero time for going through, and now it's so out of hand. I'm going to start trying to pick away a little bit every day, I think, on answering comments, but it isn't because we don't care. It's just I've been too damn busy. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately. But
yeah, you've been completely snowed under with new releases for quite a while now.
Yep.
Yep. Everybody, it's 12 o'clock Eastern time. That means you got some college football bowls kicking off. Go
Yep.
watch you some football. Enjoy this one last day off if this is your last day before heading back to work. And Marty and company Wednesday night for the album club. And then we'll be back here Friday night with Mark Riddick and Lee from the Heavy Art Talk channel. They've got some cool stuff about their channel to discuss, and we'll be discussing some great album or even just great artwork from heavy metal from only the 21st century. We're going to limit ourselves to the newer stuff and show off some kind of new classic pieces of art that have adorned metal releases over the past 2 decades.
Yep. And that's it. Everybody have a great one. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Wednesday. Oh, tomorrow, new Let's Talk Metal.
Yes, there will be. I will be doing my 2023 best of video tomorrow. So if you need one more of those, it'll be up at tomorrow morning.
All right, everybody. Cheers.